Okay. Jamie, can you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Robichaud. Here. Mr. Stryker.
Here.
Ms. Hutto is absent, and Chairman Riga.
Yes, okay, thank you. Very good. And did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting?
I have an item for the minutes. There was an item missing. We discussed the 730 West Street at the last meeting, and it didn't make it to the minutes.
7:30, that's gonna be one that actually is gonna come back today as
It's on the
well.
agenda again tonight, but it was discussed at the previous meeting
Yeah,
as well.
good catch, Jim.
And I think the outcome was suggesting that an actual survey be.
That was the meeting I was at, correct?
No, you had
No, you were
missed
not
it.
there.
You
No,
were,
that's-
you were,
okay.
yeah, it was just our last meeting. You were, I think, in a conference. Yeah, good catch, Jim. Can we add that, because that, we did ask the owner of the property to get a survey to determine what the actual
Thanks.
space was in that piece of property, and I believe he's gonna be here again tonight, right? Okay, very good. So we just need to add that to the minutes. So, anything else need to be added, Terry?
Do you know when you talked about it? Was it during?
It was,
The
I
first
believe,
item.
the first item on the list, yeah.
So with that addition, I move that the minutes be accepted as amended.
Very good.
Second.
Okay. With that changes, then, yes, let's do the roll, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
No, you're agreeing to the motion?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Mr.
Sorry.
Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Robichaud?
Yes.
Mr. Riga?
Yes. Thank you, Jim. Good catch. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good time for anybody who has any items for the audience to go ahead and speak up. Now, we have very three specific things that are coming before us. This is not that. This is, so we are gonna be discussing 730 West Street, the combination of two pieces of property, and then the Heritage Funeral Home. But any other items by the audience other than that? Yes, please, come on up to the podium and state your name.
Okay.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Cynthia.
Sorry, I have my
Rosa
glasses
Rice.
down.
I
Good to
dyed
see
my hair
you.
blonde. Okay. Anyway, I live at 1440 Dover Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And actually, I was going to email you, but I was driving by the new storage place,
Yes.
and I noticed how they built right to the property line. It looks like I took pictures, if you want to see. But I thought they were supposed to build like at least 8 feet away from the property line.
It depends on where it's at. They actually have to be, now, things like pavement is different than actual structures.
It's a
'cause-
structure.
Yeah, but if it's an actual structure, if it's side now, it has to be 7 feet. So if it's on a roadway, you have your right-of-way and then 20-foot setback.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a side, it's 7 feet. If it's to the back, is it, correct me, guys, 20 feet to the back? I think
Can
it's
I show
20
you the
20 feet to the
property
back.
line?
Yes, please, yeah, that's fine,
So, because there's a residential, looks like there's a house
yeah.
there, and so that must be their property line where that
Is
black
that
is.
from the property appraiser's office?
No, I went by and I took a picture.
I don't think that's the property line. That black, that's actually just for, to prevent any kind of soil erosion that goes on there.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
that
a silt
might not
fence.
be their-
Yeah,
See, there's the house.
yeah.
This looks so close.
So they
Can I look?
Yeah,
submitted-
yeah, yeah.
They submitted a development plan with detailed drawing package,
Yeah,
and the setbacks were in compliance. So
Yeah.
now,
those,
they build to the drawings.
yeah,
Right, so I had another question then, who goes
Mr.
out to
Talley.
make sure? Oh, so
that's
code
Mr.
enforcement.
Talley.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it look
now
close?
this particular, but good catch. I mean, Cynthia, what we do as the planning commission is we review their plans to make sure that the setbacks are proper. I believe
The
for a structure
plans.
like that, exactly, but then there's compliance, right?
Right,
And that's actually done by Mr. Talley.
okay.
So can we perhaps ask Mr. Talley to make sure that there's not any kind of a,
Do you guys, anyone else wanna see the picture?
No, I just have a question on that.
Yeah.
We had this discussion once before, and I'm sort of misunderstanding this thing. If it is a code complaint, et cetera, Jim gets in. But if we have new construction that's been approved, I thought it was, that the onus was on the engineering firm that I forget which one it is, to go and verify that it's done in compliance, that it's not.
No,
us.
Anchor Engineering reviews the plan for compliance, and then that's what we generally get an opportunity to see. And then for actual, Mr. Talley's the one who actually goes around, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. Talley goes around to make sure that whatever structure is being built to the actual specifications that we all approved. And then, for example,
Right.
there could actually be a work stoppage if, for example, a permit is not issued or if they're not building to code.
Then that's a misunderstanding on my part, because I thought that onus was on the engineering firm to close the loop on new development orders, and that wasn't Jim's job, but I misunderstood that.
Yeah, Elizabeth at Anchor Engineering, her job really is to review the plans, just like we do, the
Okay.
survey, the land development, the actual development plans, to make sure that the plans that have been submitted are gonna be compliant with the land development rules, and
And then it's up to Jim to close the loop, or the city to close the
and
loop.
then if there's a
Well, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no,
you
that's okay,
here,
sir.
But there
Go
are
for it.
certain requirements that the applicant's engineer also has to certify certain things. For instance, that the stormwater system has been built in accordance with the plans that have been submitted to the city. The engineer for the developer
Right.
would have to give the city their opinion, their professional opinion that what's been built is what was permitted. If it's a building issue, then our current building inspector would have to go out and determine whether or not the building is being built in accordance with the building code. And then as you heard, Jim would be the check and balance on the development side.
Which would be the measuring of the setbacks, et cetera.
Correct.
But Jim's not responsible for the building code aspect.
No, that should be the building official ultimately.
Who
would
is
be
the
one.
building official for
Yeah.
City of Parker?
That's Bo Creel's company.
EPCI.
Oh,
EPCI,
EPCI, okay,
Yeah.
they're supposed to. So
But
then would
that's
you
not
get
the
someone?
location of the building on the property. That's, you use the right wood, you have the right nails, those kinds of things. You put it where you were supposed to put it is more something the city would check from a development permit standpoint, which would be Jim. Or if the city needed assistance, the city could contract the engineer to do that, but I don't believe we've done that yet.
Not on this property. We have sent code out for homes before that we thought were not
Right.
built in the right area.
It just really looks awfully close to that house. If anyone's been
It's-
driving by and seeing it.
think what
it
you're looking
helps.
at
7
the-
feet.
yeah, I think what
Less
you're
than
looking
for me
at
to
there
have.
is, yeah, it's a,
It shadows him.
Doesn't
and
it?
and
know,
I
it
think
looks
that's,
like
that's
it's a-
pretty consistent too, whether it's a residential district or an MU1 or an MU2. Your side yard to the, from your property line
Uh-huh.
to your building has to only be 7 feet.
But this is tighter, if that.
But
So-
that's
so-
a silt fence, and I think they put
Yeah,
that
you're-
inside their property so it doesn't,
The
But if
silt,
you look where that house is, where's the edge of that side yard of the house?
he might not be a conforming structure. We don't know. I would
Yeah.
have to have a survey on
Okay.
it. If he's a
Yeah.
non-conforming and built 3
All right,
feet
but
from
you'll
the
look
property
into
line.
it doesn't depend on the house, it depends on where
Right.
their own property line is.
Right,
Like
And I
but I
think-
guess me
yeah.
driving by, I would think
Yeah.
that house has a side
But
yard
back
and
in the day,
then,
it was 5 feet.
Actually, years ago, it was only 3 feet, then it
Yeah.
went to 5, then it went to 7.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So he could be 10 feet from that structure.
And actually,
Okay.
there's more than that right now. If it's a building that you're gonna occupy, it's 7 feet. It's 5 feet for an accessory building
Oh.
today. So,
Okay.
that's,
But back in
that
the
would be
day-
a carport or a shed or something like
or
that.
a storage unit like this?
Or a storage unit. Well,
Okay,
But
I
when you
mean,
buy
cause
next
there's
to
no
a
one's gonna
commercial
be
property.
living in there.
yeah.
But,
yeah.
but you'll look into it, you'll have Mr. Talley?
Well, I think Mr. Talley's
Yes,
gonna
I've
go
got it.
take a peek at it,
Okay,
yeah.
and I can send a picture then.
Yeah.
He
Do-
knows it.
Okay, then I have issue number 2.
Sure, please.
As I was driving by, I saw Fulcrum Building Supply,
Yes,
and I thought those structures were temporary.
they are.
So at what point are
Fulcrum
they,
has just been bought out by a different company, so I'm sure that's slowed it down.
Okay, but at what point were they supposed to build a permanent building? In July. June.
They had actually committed to us that it would be June, you know, they did stand here before our committee members and our council members rather, and said that it would probably be June. Now, he kind of waffled on that a little bit because it was taking a little bit of time in order to get the steel, but they did actually buy the building. They actually have the building that's gonna construct it. They own it, and they said that it's on some truck somewhere, so it probably warrants us to look into it, though, to find out when that's actually gonna get built.
Yeah, I don't know when they got bought out, but
Yeah.
if that's their obligation, if that's what they promised, and a way
Yeah.
for us to fight the blight of
Well, I think
how awful
the
it looks.
development order doesn't change just because,
Just because
ownership, right?
Correct.
Development order remains the same, so the obligations, it transfers over to the new owners, but it's actually one of our council members brought that very same thing up earlier today.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
so,
good.
you guys are doing the Vulcan
Yeah,
line
I haven't
mill thing.
spoken to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but
So
it's,
that's-
I mean,
that's
you know, you're being a good steward of Parker, and we appreciate that, thank you.
Well, thanks. Oh, yeah, you too, you see it too.
Yeah,
All right,
good deal.
thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, very good, thank you. All right, so the first one here is 730 West Street. It's a variance request for a single-family home due to the lot size. So is it Mr. Will Haber?
That'd be Roger McMurray.
Roger McMurray,
We have
okay,
an update in there.
okay, very good.
We'll have those given out.
Oh, I got you, okay. So you're Roger?
Yes, sir.
Roger, you want to kind of tell us, has anything changed since our meeting that we discussed this last?
So I was not here for that meeting.
Okay.
Larry's out of town, and I'm
Okay.
buying the property from him.
Okay,
And he kind of told me what happened at the first meeting. And I guess I'm here to answer questions again,
yeah.
since I'm going to be the new owner.
Let me kind of give you the, let me give you the rundown. So we just ratified some new land development rules, but this particular rule has not changed. If it is a residential area, you need 7,500 square feet in order to build a home. And I think the tax assessor's office on that particular home said that it was just shy by about 8 square feet. So Mr. Rochef looked into it, and because it's a kind of an odd-shaped area, there's actually only about 7,100 square feet. So the recommendation by Mr. Robicheff a month ago was to have an actual survey done, because what is it called, Jim? You'd know this, a polybar or something like that. It's an unusual shape. Polygon, yeah.
The survey is in the records that I sent you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's in the first one here. And you're right, you're right. Yeah, polygon, yeah,
Last
so,
page in the-
so when you actually do when you actually do the math on it, it comes to 7,110 square feet, okay? So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the fact that that property doesn't meet the minimum requirement in order to build a home on it, all right? So what we asked the last gentleman to do was to go do an actual survey to find out if there was more land there than met the eye. And so I see this is before us again today.
The survey's here, so that's why
Yeah.
it's easier to ask for the variance.
And
Is that a new survey, or is that a?
did the survey confirm what we thought? So it confirmed the lower amount, is that right?
It says 7,100 square feet on it. The
Yeah.
survey was done 5/17 of 19.
Okay. So the tax assessor's office kind of made it look like there was a little bit more there than we anticipated. So I'm just gonna talk to you guys here for a minute. So this is a wooded lot. To my belief, there was not a structure there before, right? This is just an open field, and it's at this time, is that right?
It's just a
Just a wooded lot.
trash.
So, what this gentleman's asking for is essentially, would we allow him to build a structure on 7,110 square feet? So, you wanna add anything in terms of what you're planning on building, or,
So it'll be, I'm active duty Air Force right now,
okay,
staying in the local area. I'm getting out. Family's moving down. I don't want them living with me. I've tried to buy a couple of the other lots on West Street because they want to be close because they're getting older. they don't need a big structure, but I mean, 7,100 feet, still plenty to build, even with the odd shape. It just, you know, would take a little extra planning and probably height, but it's kind of an eyesore. It's got a bunch of trash in it right now, as the property beside me does. It's a little aggravating, so I'd like to clean it up and make it look more respectable than it is, especially seeing as I live across the street from it.
You own the property across the street from
Yes,
it
sir.
right
I own
now?
the acre 735 West.
So would you, if you built a home here, would it be for investment or would you move into it?
It would be for
For
my
your family?
family to move into, yes.
Okay,
When I got around to building it, I'm not gonna build it, and
I live across the street from my parents.
Okay, so here,
it's
so.
better than them living with me.
Yeah, it's not.
So the acre you own is right across the street from it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
So,
On Lake or on,
It's on West Street, Hyatt Court, the alley,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
West. I own that corner.
okay, all right, okay. Oh, that's a big corner.
It's beautiful.
Terry, any
You
thoughts?
severely limit what you can put on it.
Yeah,
I mean, 3,500 square feet, thereabouts, 40% of that
yeah.
for any kind of
A square
impervious
structure
area.
that meets all the setbacks, maximum size would be 1,350 square feet
Which is not small.
at the perimeter. Now you can go up and then have more than one story.
So,
But you
Mr.
have to stay under the 35, including your driveway.
Depends on what kind of driveway you put in.
Well, actually, you couldn't,
Yeah, he's not anywhere near.
You only have 40% impervious.
40%, right, right. So, with 7,100, if he built a 1,300 square foot home, it would be under the 40%.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's just the structure though, then you got driveway.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
Yeah.
If you put in a pervious structure.
If you 1,300 square foot, if
Yeah.
you chop that in half and go up one with square
Yeah.
footage, we're not. It doesn't have to be.
He's not anywhere near the 40%.
Right, he's okay on that one.
Yeah, well, so here's what, our mantra has to be, and that is that if we ask the council members to review this for approval, would we be harming any of the nearby properties by having a home built here? Right now, it's just an empty lot, right? We wanna make sure that, whenever a new structure is being built, that we don't cause harm to any other structures nearby, whether it's flooding or maybe a home on too small of a lot, or perhaps tax, structures by nearby residences. So what are your thoughts about, pushing this along to the council members to review it for their approval?
I don't see that it's gonna hurt anybody around it. I know there's smaller lots here in Parker
Yeah,
with houses on them.
yeah. It would be a legal non-conforming structure if they allowed it to go forward, unless they acquired more land, but it would still be legal if the council
Kind of
members
blocked
approved
in,
it.
I think that's about all
Yeah.
it can be.
Yep.
It would-
And God knows the city needs the
I don't think-
revenue.
If he follows all the setbacks,
Yeah,
Then this
it wouldn't be non-conforming. It's the
Except
lot,
for the lot size.
the lot is non-conforming.
wouldn't it
Lot
be,
size is non-conforming.
yeah,
The structures would be conforming, but the use, i.e. the lot.
yes, yeah,
Right.
non-conforming.
That's just what our next.
But
Yeah.
again, I wanna, even with the new LDR, the burden of proof and persuasion is on the applicant. And they must prove by clear and convincing evidence to the council 7 things. Then we've changed them, if you remember,
Right.
from the original 5.
Right,
And and I can go over those if you want to, but I would add, in addition to the 7 criteria that the council will be considering, you also have to consider the precedent. Do you want this precedent to be set going forward for other lots where you're allowing a structure on a lot essentially 400 feet less than the minimum square footage? So if you grant this gentleman's, then I think you could arguably be setting a precedent for future applicants who might also be requesting the same. But the 7 things, because I'm sure you don't remember them verbatim, are, there is a specific hardship affecting the development of the property resulting from the strict application of the provisions of these regulations. Number 2, the hardship is not a result of the actions of the owner and is not based solely on a desire to reduce development cost. Number 3, the proposed variance is necessary to preserve a substantial property right where such property right is generally available to other property owners of adjacent or nearby properties or other properties in the land use category. Number 4, the proposed variance will not materially increase congestion on surrounding streets, increase the danger of fire or other hazard, or otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of the public. Number 5, the proposed variance will be compatible with adjacent and nearby development and will not alter the essential character of the land use district. Number 6, the effect of the proposed variance is consistent with the purposes of the regulations. And number 7, the effect of the proposed variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So those are the 7 factors that the applicant must show by clear and convincing evidence, must prove to the council in order to qualify for a variance.
Quick question.
Please.
So, when we discussed this the last time, and can you hear me okay with the mask on? Okay. When we discussed this the last time, Mark, you brought up I think it was you brought up the issue that we shouldn't do the variance if it's just to be a financial gain for somebody. Was that you that brought that up?
Well, the old criteria.
Oh, that was the old criteria. Okay, we took that out. All right. Okay, so I withdraw my question. So my thoughts are, when you take those 7 criteria, I really don't see, I see that granting this variance would make sense. It is an odd shop. It is on the corner. If no one, do we want to just let it to be a junk lot? I mean, it is an unusual situation. The boundaries were drawn a long time ago before we had all these rules, and you know, I took care of my parents, so I like the idea of putting your parents in a home. I mean, your own home, not a rest home. So I would say, I would propose that we recommend the variance. That's my vote. I'm very familiar with the property.
And then the other question I heard the gentleman talk about, he's not proposing this to be done for some period of time. Again, normally your variances are in connection with a development order application, and those only last for 6 months.
Oh,
So
good point.
you need to be aware of that as you consider it.
What is your time frame, sir?
It's really up to when they can, because if I was to buy it, if I get the variance today, buy it tomorrow, and then say, hey, I got a lot for you to live on, that starts the clock of, you know, finding a builder,
House lights.
starting that, getting financing, moving along. If contractor's worthwhile or not, it could be anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half to 2 years, depending on if they decide to stay or if they run into any bumps.
Yeah.
So the question really is for you is, you don't want to buy, so you're the one who wants to buy it. The person that was here before was the one who would be the seller, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so you don't wanna take the risk buying it unless you know you can build a house on it.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's a cart and a horse issue.
Right now, there's just like when I went over there to verify the survey pins, it's, as I was walking through there's a bunch of hurricane wreckage and stuff in there.
Yeah. So you'd clean it up, build a nice structure.
I'm gonna there's only one tree that's worthwhile in there. The rest are hangers and,
Yeah. Well, Mr. Sloan, I think I understand the pulse of the council members these days, since at least the tax board shows this as just being 8 feet shy, even though the polygon, you know, when we do the math on it, makes it seem 400 feet shy.
I don't think you can rely on an approximation versus an actual survey. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think you can wink and nod and say that, well, the property appraiser map was close. I think you've got a survey in front of you, So,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think the question is recognizing that the property is 7,110 square feet.
Yep.
And the requirement's 7,500. Based upon those 7 criteria, the fact that, you know, you need to understand that if the council affirms this, affirms your recommendation, that there may be a precedent set for other applications.
Why don't we, can we do this though? Because this particular group here looks through the nuts and bolts. So, and our job is to either approve it with conditions, or deny it,
Recommend,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, recommend. So can we say approve with conditions, and that condition being that the council members review it? Because it's ultimately them that are gonna say yes or no anyway, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a condition, that they
Yeah.
are the ultimate approval authority. So
Yeah.
whether you say that or you don't say that,
Yeah.
that's where the buck's gonna stop.
So why don't we do this, because if we take everything into consideration here, you know, it's 400 square feet shy of really what it needs to be, or 390 square feet shy of what it needs to be. I tend to agree with Terry here that I think it would be an improvement for the city to have another water meter, to have that area developed.
Cleaned up, yeah.
And I think I'd like to give the council members the option to make that choice rather than us let it die on the vine here. They're the ultimate authority anyway.
Well,
And
it
Mr.
wouldn't-
Sloan.
It wouldn't die on the vine here.
Okay,
It dies
exactly.
or
Okay.
If it goes forward with our recommendation for approval or with.
Well, the condition being, but we could forward it to the council members, recognizing that it doesn't meet this one criteria, but because of the greater good, other things, that ultimately.
I don't think it's our place to make that kind of call.
Yeah.
We're established to shepherd the LDR through, to get it approved, and then our job is really to see if it's in compliance or not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's our place to recommend relief. I mean, it's up, the council can certainly
Yeah.
do it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's our position to do that.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Yeah, Paul?
So I'd like to comment on 2 parts. Part 1, Dr. Sloan, and that is, as far as the precedent issue, this is an existing piece of land. It was platted out a long time ago, okay? At least prior to all of us being involved. And so if we can word this that, you know, that what we want to prevent is somebody saying, gee, I've got this piece of property and I want to turn it into 7,100 square foot lots. So if we're able to write our recommendation or our, you know, our concerns in that manner, possibly that would preclude a propagation of smaller lot size based on this particular thing. On the issue of, so that's item 1. Item 2, on Jim's concept there, the reality of it is that with the rebuilding of the town and with all the various things that they're hitting on, they really do, the city council, just from my conversations with, I've had individual conversations with each city council member as to what are they looking for from us. And they really, it's okay for us to express an opinion, like we think it's a good idea. They can take it or not, but I don't think it detracts from their power for us to say we think it's an okay idea. That's just my thoughts on that. And when you look at how that developed, they really are so. I mean, there's so many things going on in this town right now, particularly all of the trying to tear down structures and getting all those decrees out. Each one of those things has to go through the city council. Yeah. They need us to do some pre-filtering for them, so I don't think they reject it.
Well, and the other thing is too, is we can't ignore the fact that we've got a gentleman here who's gonna take an empty lot that's got hurricane debris on it. And this city's a rat hole right now. And fix part of that rat hole by building a structure on it. So I'd like to at least give the council members the opportunity to pass it through us. Just, and Jim, I respect your
And they're
opinion
gonna get that.
entirely.
They're gonna get
Yeah.
that,
So
regardless of what we do here.
All right, why don't we do this then? Why don't we go ahead and, so how do we structure this, Mr. Sloan? Take a vote to
One
send
thing
it?
before we proceed,
Please,
I don't know if
please.
we can control precedent the way he suggested.
Obviously, if it were to come up again and there was a distinction to be made, your point of it being an existing platted lot could be a possibility. However, virtually most of the property in Parker is already platted. You know, there could be a distinction between the 7,500 square feet versus the 5,000, because again, if you are broached with this issue on a 5,000 square foot lot, and now you're reducing it to 4,600, that's a bigger difference than 7,500 to, you know, 7,100.
Correct, bigger percentage.
So, there are some distinctions that I certainly, you know, lawyers that we spend a lot of time making distinctions about minutia, but there are some distinctions that I believe could be made. I also think that if another person came in with a 7,500 foot lot requirement and a 7,000 square foot lot, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do if someone comes in with a 14,000 square foot lot and wants to subdivide it into two 7,000 foot parcels?
Right. I mean, you're gonna advise them that they're gonna need a variance if they wanna build on it.
And, you know, things will be different there. Things will be different because it'll be a different parcel of land, it'll be a different time, it'll be a different developer, it'll be a different everything.
So,
But I like Paul's idea about, you know, and I'm gonna rephrase it,
Sure.
only because I can't remember exactly what you said, but I liked it. It was about, hey, could we do a one-off, because we're close, and we're talking about improving the city. We're talking about another development that's going to take, you know, an otherwise empty, nasty lot, improve it. We don't have exactly, I mean, his issue is going to be related to the 6-month time frame, which will actually be from the time that the council members approve it, is that right, or disapprove it?
Well, the time
approve
they
it,
actually-
Yeah,
the
so that,
actual
you might actually have
permit
closer to
is
7 or
within
8
writing,
months,
that's correct.
and, you know, truth be told.
so how about this as a compromise? We move to forward the application for variance, noting that it is not in compliance, that short by 390 square feet. However, extenuating circumstances deserves the council's consideration.
I like it. It's well put,
That
well,
way
very
we-
well put.
Well, we can't really set here, we cannot set precedents.
Well,
The council-
except they're gonna get everything we got, and, we have one council member right here who's gonna probably convey information, and we have our attorney who's been in it from when the last gentleman came forward. I think they're gonna probably look at what you were talking about, and that is, hey, one-off, it is a unique parcel of land, it is already platted. What do you do with this? Just let it sit? That's worse for the city than if you know, than if you.
Have a moment, or is it too late for the public to speak, make a recommendation?
Well, we're not quite done with this, John. Is it about this thing here, Joe?
Is there a problem with getting a plan for the design of his property, what he's gonna put there as a condition before you give this variance? Cause it looks
Can you
like,
state your name?
oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Joe Huffbauer, 5033 Sharon Drive. If you're gonna do this variance and you're gonna start a precedent, I would think that you would at least have something specific in mind that you're giving a variance to. If he's got a planned design, how big the structure's gonna be, how much
Yeah.
it's gonna cover, I think it would make more sense than just saying this one-off here, and then the next guy comes in and says, well, I'll have a one-off too, but I don't have a design.
Yeah.
My question is, why would he pay for a house design on a land he doesn't own, and he's not gonna buy it?
Right.
He doesn't have to, I didn't say anything about paying for a
Yeah.
design, I'm just
No,
saying
And Joe, the.
what
the
his
oth-
intent was, how many square feet.
The other thing is too, is
Yes.
all we would do is we would send it to the council members in order to say that he could build on this property that is right now 390 square feet shy of what he could otherwise build on.
Build what?
It's an actual home. So, then, when he
Well,
goes
that's
through
what
the
I'm s-
development.
That's what my
well,
point is,
well, when
can
he
you
goes
put
through
that
the-
as a condition?
Well, when he goes through the development process, it still has to meet all the setbacks, it has to meet all the requirements, all the building codes and everything else. We're not changing any of that. We're only saying that he could build
Yeah, and I'm
a
sorry,
structure
I'm
on
not
this.
meaning to pick on this man,
Yeah.
I hope he does build on it and
Yeah.
fix it. I'm just saying, as far as the process goes, it seems like the next person could come in without any clear path, what they intend to do, and get a variance too. And I'm not sure that's the intent of the variance.
Yeah.
That would,
What I'm tracking is it's just the variance to build. As I go through with the house, it's still, no matter if I put a orange house up that somebody doesn't like, as long as it meets the code that the
Right.
It would have to meet all the Florida building codes, it would have to
And-
meet all the
and-
city setbacks, all the
okay,
zone
if
requirements.
that's
Yeah,
written
that-
down
that's-
somewhere.
We're not bypassing any of that.
No,
That
not
we're
talking-
simply saying, the gentleman's got a unique
Okay.
situation, it's a piece of property that's overgrown, it's got junk on it, but, and thank you, Joe, I appreciate your comments. So, Jim, restate what you said, because I thought that was perfect.
I believe we should move, without placing a motion on the floor, I believe that our recommendation should be that the lot is below the minimum allowable
Square footage.
square footage for a residential home. However, there are extenuating circumstances, and the council should consider it. One of them being the odd shape of the lot, the second one being that in fact a
Plat
reasonable
exists.
sized home could be
Yeah.
constructed in conformance with all the setbacks and all the other requirements. So basically, we acknowledge that we move it forward to the city council, acknowledging that it is, yes, by our calculations, 390 square feet short of the minimum. However, there are extenuating circumstances that deserve the council's consideration.
I agree,
And it would be up to you to tell them what those considerations are.
yeah,
If you have anything
very good.
I'd
against it.
second that.
Is that a
Yes, sir.
motion? That wasn't specifically
All right,
said.
I move that
Somebody
the
say-
planning commission forward this request for variance for 730 West Street, noting that the lot in question is in fact approximately 390 square feet below the minimum required 7,500 square feet, but that there are extenuating circumstances that deserves the council's consideration.
Did
I
you
like
wanna add though that, and a reasonably sized home that could meet all of our other
Those are the
regulations?
considerations, and there are probably more than just that, but
Okay.
those are some of the considerations that should
It
be.
has to meet those anyway.
Right,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to note that, because they're gonna ask, you know, so they don't have to do the second work a second time.
In order to meet all the setbacks, you can only build a 300 square foot house,
Right.
that's a different story. But this
Right.
one, very easily
Right.
fit a much
Jamie,
larger-
is-
that is a extended.
So the red line right there, that's
it's
what
not
we're
a
actually,
corner lot,
okay.
but-
So, to be honest with you, looking at the other properties that are there and the other homes that are there, that's not gonna be outside the character of that particular, subdivision either.
He's got-
They all
he's
look
got
like they're about the
intrusion
same
on the north
size.
Boundary anyway, in
Yeah.
addition to that,
Yeah, very good.
you got
All
something
right.
that's built across your property.
Well, Jim, I like that, so can we go ahead and take a vote,
Did
Jamie?
you, can you read it
I
back?
just wrote the time down so I can,
Oh, okay,
listen to
all
you
right, so does
later.
anybody understand the motion that I just placed on the
your,
floor?
Yes.
your motion's to recommend it. Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
We need a second, I think.
Mr. Striker.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Striker, thanks.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Robichaud?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming
Thank
before us. Now, you're not done. You still have to go before the council members, and
This is.
probably not a bad idea to have an idea
this
of
is-
what
this
it is that
just
you're
a
gonna,
concept. It shows that you can build something.
yeah.
Okay.
Not a bad idea to have some kind of a concept of what you're gonna build on that property, and take some real pictures of it to show the junk that's on it right now, to show that it's gonna be improvement and all of that
Is there a
stuff.
way if I put together, I've never been to one, is it done in this room as well?
It's done in this room, and actually, that young lady right there is one of our council members. She heard everything we just said.
Okay,
You know, she'll be one of the decision makers.
I think
Okay.
his question is, can he project the pictures he takes?
If you get them to me, I can give them to council prior to the meeting as well.
okay.
And thank you for,
Probably be here November 15th,
Yeah.
if that works for you. If it doesn't, then you can let me know and we can do it in December.
Okay.
very good.
Just
Thank
like
you for your
next door.
service too there.
Thank
my
you.
friend. I appreciate you.
Any
One,
Very
questions?
good.
one last comment?
Please.
Dr. Sloan, before he presents that to city council, could you prepare something like we were talking about as far as the uniqueness of this situation, so it doesn't set a precedent that someone can then later say, well, you know, if they have a big lot, and they wanna subdivide it, that it kind of preclude, that this is a different situation. I think that that's important.
There's no way for me to cover all the.
The contingencies? Okay, all right.
contingencies.
So
One
what's that
thing,
you need?
one thing you might consider though, from a strategic standpoint, is just because we approved it doesn't mean you have to go to the very next council meeting. It sounds to me like you need more than 6 months to get things all sorted out. You might wanna think about when you actually are gonna present it to the council. It probably can't be a year from now, but it probably could be a few months from now.
So I would ask if the variance applied for and received, say at the council meeting, say they said good go, variance good, and I lapsed.
Once you get their approval, you have a 6-month time frame before you have to start building. Yeah, from the time you get the development order until this time the permit, to this time you start building. So there is that 6-month time frame, just because we can't have projects go on for 9 years,
6
you know
months
what I
to get
mean?
a permit, because it
Yeah.
might take 8 months to get windows.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
if I guess what I'm asking, if you get a variance once, like I said, it could be 6 months to a year to 2 years before.
You
it
can ask
actually-
for an extension of the variance.
And then if we'll just say it lapsed, could
You-
I come
you-
back?
You
If
could,
it
you could ask for
lapses, you'll have to come back.
an extension, yeah.
That's all. I don't want to buy the property without the variance or the notion that
That's what I'm saying, just play with the timing, make sure that it's right in your head in terms of when you do it. But it starts with getting their approval, because they're the ultimate, they're the elected officials, we're appointed officials here. So they make the actual hardcore decisions. But they will read our decision, and, you know, that'll play for them.
I still don't think it answered my question. Let me try to
You
think.
wanna come to the next meeting, so you'll know if your variance is going to pass or not.
Yes, and even if
And
they
then
don't
you can
push
get
it
an
through,
extension.
they're like, if when you're ready to come back and we can push this variance through, is that an option? Because I need to know variance yes or no.
You would know that when you meet with council, so if you want to know that right away, you're gonna have to be on the next council meeting.
That's what I'm saying. On that council meeting, when they say your
Yes.
variance is good,
Yes, you'll know that night.
and I can buy, and then if I don't build for a year and say the variance lapses, can I come
You
back?
would have to ask for an extension on the variance, so
On
it
the
doesn't
variance, right.
lapse.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
You
That
should get an extension to get one to start.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, item 2 on the list was, I think we've got 5100 and 5102. Okay, this is a Zoom meeting. All right, so did everybody get a chance to read through what's going on here?
What land use category is this in?
5100, let's see here.
Behind you. On the little paper.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
Well, you want to cheat it.
Hold a second.
Low density residential.
It is, and it's a townhouse.
Okay.
Two townhouses.
Well, it's 2 townhouses or 1 townhome?
It's a duplex.
It's a duplex, but it's one structure, right?
Yes. So it's already non-conforming with our LVR.
Okay, but it's a legal conforming, non-conforming structure, right? Okay, all right, very good.
So it's non-conforming because it's not on 7,500 square feet already,
Correct.
and they want to
Combine the parcels.
To 5,000.
make 10,000, but then they want to put 2 structures
The
on.
structures are already there.
Yeah, that's,
Parcels are 5,100 square feet each now. The owner's asking to combine because the bank is asking, they're selling it, and the bank who's financing it wants to put the parcel as one, not 2 separate parcels for the loan. The bank's requiring him to.
Okay,
That's
so,
a bank problem, not a city problem necessarily, but, okay.
Yes.
but
So-
it brings up a good question, so change of ownership, it's
Going
in a
to
residential
terminate
area.
the non-conforming use as opposed to the,
Hi.
Right,
Can you see it? You are very fuzzy. Okay, there you are.
very good, very good.
What's going on? I don't know why it's doing that.
That's okay. I'm gonna spin you around just because I'm not gonna answer your questions there.
Okay.
Hi, this is our board, so you've got our planning committee. We don't have a quorum any longer.
Well, you have a
Do we have a
Want me to
quorum?
go get it?
No, we
Still
have
have
three.
three.
No, you're fine. We have three. We're good. Okay. This is Chairman Riga. He's probably gonna do the
How are you,
rest
sir?
of it.
Can you tell us who you are and what you're planning on doing here with your project?
I'm selling the property. My name's Harrison Yachts. It's 5100 and 5102 Hickory Street, and I guess for whatever reason, the type of loan or whatever I'm selling the property to, the new homeowner is needing it to be one property.
Okay. And it's a duplex at this time, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And would it remain a duplex? Or
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it would, okay, so it would be a duplex on essentially a little over 10,000 square feet of property. So it wouldn't be turned into a single family home, it would remain a duplex, is that right?
Yeah, it would remain a duplex. I think it's just dealing with the type of loan they're getting.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Currently under contract by, okay, property is zoned. All right, so the issue we have, Mr. Sloan, is that this is in a residential area. It's an existing structure, but it's a legal non-conforming structure. It just happens to be on two parcels of land. It's physically built on two parcels of land. So would the sale change anything with regard to how the city has to deal with this piece of property? In other words,
So
with
the question is, do you all consider it a non-conforming use, or do you consider it a non-conforming structure? If it were a non-conforming use, then it theoretically, under the new land development regulations, that would terminate upon the transfer of title. If it was a non-conforming structure, then it would not terminate, at least by that provision in the LDR. So your issue to decide is what are you looking at? You have an existing structure. Is it a use issue, or is it a structure issue?
And interesting enough, even just because the building is a duplex, if they turned it into a single-family home, one household, it would meet all the requirements.
If they combine the lots. Yeah.
But so the use is already a duplex, right? The use is a duplex, so that would not change. Is that right, Sarah? The use of the structure
No.
would not change. So two families would occupy this property. Is that right?
To my understanding,
He's
I
selling
mean,
the property.
You're selling the property. Okay.
yes, I'm selling it.
Okay. Well, I don't think the use is gonna change. The use is gonna remain the same. It's right now, it would be, because it's in a residential area, we don't allow duplexes in residential areas, but it's a non-conforming structure. It's a legal, non-conforming use. Is that accurate, Mr. Sloan? It's a legal, non-conforming use
Right.
at
You-
this
you
time.
always- You use the extra term legal.
Yeah.
Again, you and I disagree on that terminology,
Yeah.
but it is if you determine it's a non-conforming use, then let me just read you the section from the LDR so that you know what it says.
Yeah.
So it seems to me you have two. The first issue is, what is it? What kind of animal is it?
Yeah.
In order for you to move forward. The loss of grandfathering, the loss of the non-conforming status is found in 6-3.1, and what we're talking about is paragraph 6. It says, change of ownership or other transfer of a recorded interest in real property on which a non-conforming use is located shall terminate the non-conforming use status, regardless of whether the purchaser modifies or alters the use of the property.
So it could not be a duplex anymore.
Yeah, it could not be so change of ownership or other transfer of a recorded interest in real property in which a non-conforming use is located shall terminate the non-conforming use status, regardless of whether the purchaser modifies or alters the use of the property.
That's why that's why the first question for you is it a non-conforming use or is it a non-conforming structure?
Well, it's in a residential area, and duplexes are, under the new LDRs, are not allowed in a residential area. That is residential, right, sir? It's not MU1 or MU2? It's considered residential? It is resident, okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Sure. It's also non-conforming because of the lot size.
Because of the lot size. But if they combine the two of them,
Then and made it a single-family home.
yeah.
Then it's not non-conforming based on setback.
Here's the issue we've got. We just ratified new land development rules and went through several months of trying to make rules that will make the city bigger, brighter, better. And unfortunately, at this time, what we've got is a duplex in a residential area. Residential areas are supposed to be single-family homes only. So it's right now, it is in fact a non-conforming use that the city is okay with, accepted. However, because ownership would systematically change, then what would happen under the new rules is the use of that property, if it remained the same, you would lose that non-conforming status.
Grandfather status.
You would lose that grandfather status, yes, sir. So if you were in a situation where the new purchaser was gonna turn that into a single-family home, we're good with it. But if right now, under the current rules, it cannot remain a duplex in a residential area.
And so it would have to come to you as a variance.
So it would have to come to us, right, or go to the council members as a variance, right?
And the council.
Yep, yep. Paul, thoughts?
I'm still thinking on this one. This one's a
Okay.
tough one.
Yeah,
I believe the property combination can be separated from the joining of the two lots into one can be separated from the conforming / non-conforming status of the building on it. And all that's being asked for is the combining of the lots.
Yeah.
The sale will trigger additional
yeah.
things,
Mm.
but all we're being asked to look at tonight is combining two lots into one.
And that's up to the new owner.
Yeah. That's really,
Deal with
that's a
Well,
very astute
no,
observation.
it's based upon, what Mr. Robichaud is saying is it's based upon a static point in time, which is this gentleman owns it, he wants to combine two lots into one,
Right,
regardless of what he does downstream. If downstream, someone else purchases it, or before they purchase it, I think what I'm understanding, Mr. Robichaud, is they'd have to come back in here and ask for a variance at that point in time.
yeah.
As part of their due diligence, they would have to be aware that the sale
Yeah.
will trigger a non-conforming, which would cause the non-conforming status grandfather to cease.
So
That
they
would
would
be
need a
part of their due
variance to-
diligence, but it has nothing to do with combining two lots as
Correct.
being petitioned right now.
Correct.
And you're Harrison, you say?
Yes.
Did you understand all of that?
I believe, yeah.
Okay, so essentially what's going on here, I'll repeat it the third time, just because sometimes it takes a little bit of time for me to get it. All you're doing is you're asking to combine the lots. Okay?
Yeah.
So we can do that. We can say yes to that.
Well,
Because
right.
technically, what we're doing is, you're only asking us to combine the lots. So but once the sale occurs, it is indeed a sale that triggers the non-conforming use of the property. And at that point, before the sale occurred, so we could essentially agree that you can combine the two properties, okay? That's not a big deal. But because it's a duplex in a residential area, once ownership changes, that triggers the loss of non-conforming status on a duplex in a residential area.
Okay.
Okay, so, but
And now,
doing right now is simply asking us is, can you combine the lots? The answer is yes. But once ownership changes, then they would have to come back before the planning commission to see if that piece is okay. I know it's kind of a tight wire, of a situation, but that's ultimately
Yeah.
what's going on.
Unless they came back before the planning commission and the council, it would be in violation of the code, the land development regulations, and it could be cited for a violation unless they were to seek and obtain a variance.
Would the new owner have seeked a variance?
The new owner.
The new owner would apply for the variance, okay.
Yeah.
Or
But-
the new owners,
but-
this gentleman just
But
did.
it probably will have
might
to be
do it
disclosed
beforehand.
in your real estate sale that,
Okay.
that the ownership change will indeed trigger the loss of non-conforming status.
Okay.
But this still has to come from council.
Hmm?
This still has to.
But we have an audience member here. Hey, Diane,
Hi, I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question.
please.
Is that house a single-family house?
No.
Wait a minute, that was made into a duplex?
It's a
You
duplex.
sure it-
Originally a duplex.
Yeah, originally a
did he say?
duplex. He said it's originally a duplex.
Okay, so then if it's two lots, here's a lot, here's a lot, where's the duplex? In the center?
It's one building, it's right, it's one building on two lots.
For two separate
Yeah.
entities.
Just
So
like a
the lot line
townhouse
goes,
would
there's,
be.
that's why it's non-conforming, it doesn't meet setbacks.
Right,
It's just like a townhouse.
It's a townhouse.
You know how
yeah,
there's one attached to the other, attached to the other.
right,
Okay, I was just wondering if it wasn't a large home, they
Yeah.
built where the garage was in the front, and then they made
Yeah.
two apartment
Yeah.
made us.
Now, if they did, matter of fact, there's people in this room that purchased duplexes and turned them into single-family homes. Matter of fact, one of our planning commissioners, is in, but you see, he's in a residential area, and that was fine. So when you go to sell it, if their intent is to, turn it into a single-family dwelling, then that's legal. But right now, in a residential districts are, the only thing allowed in a residential district are single-family dwellings. So I'm just trying to give you all the details there.
Okay, I guess so. It was supposed to close on Friday. I guess I just,
Long and short of it is that you can combine the properties, no problem. But the new
council
owners,
has
go
to
ahead,
do that.
Mr. Sloan, go ahead.
The council has to do that.
And the council won't even meet until after Friday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the planning board. The combination of the properties would actually be approved by the council members, which will be, when's the next meeting that they will meet? Yeah,
15th.
yeah. So I think what we're getting ready to do, so is your first name Harrison or Yance?
Yance is his last name.
Harrison.
Harrison is your first name, okay. So Harrison, what we're getting ready to do as a planning commission is say it's okay to combine the lots, but it still has to go to the council members for their approval to actually then combine the lots.
Okay, all right.
They're gonna get our recommendation, but just be aware that once the property then sells, okay, in a residential area, then, if the use is going to remain the same, it's the change of ownership that triggers the nonconformity of it,
Okay, all right.
okay? Very good. So at the end of the day, we're essentially saying, we're gonna go ahead and say, if you wanna combine the lots, that's okay. That's what the bank needs, that's what the bank needs. But it is going to then, then the new owners will have to ask for a variance.
Okay, all right. I appreciate it.
All right, sir? So,
You need a motion?
yes, we do.
I make a motion that we forward recommendation, combine the two lots.
Very good.
Second.
With the condition that, making the council aware that a sale would then create the particular situation we just discussed. It's important to
Well,
bring that to their attention.
they would have, Well, here's the interesting thing. What we're doing right now is not a variance.
Correct.
And doesn't require any kind of a variance. It would only be the sale of the property that would require the variance. We're only saying it's okay to combine the properties.
However, but is it not also our duty to at least inform the city council of these are some of the things that may occur afterwards?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that the combining of the property doesn't trigger
A
the
variance.
variance.
Oh, I totally agree. But when we
Yeah.
equip the city council with with the information when they're processing that,
I am-
they should be made aware of that particular
A
condition.
sale, yeah, if the use changes, and of course, we have Mr. Sloan here and we have a council member here, but, at the end of the day, what we're doing today doesn't trigger any variance or necessitate a variance. It would only be when the sale occurs.
Oh, I totally understand that.
Okay.
My only concern is that, and this is something that I've had discussions with the city council, that when we have our discussions, they need to be aware of some of the things that we considered, because they don't wanna have to go and.
They're entitled to our minutes. They get everything that we're discussing right now.
Do we wanna redo the motion?
Call for vote.
Well,
Yes.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Listen,
If you want to
and we
withdraw the
do,
motion and change it,
what is it, Jim?
he made a motion, I seconded it.
Okay, let's call for a vote.
Mr.
Thank you. Based on that motion.
I have
Yes.
only seconded what,
Okay, Mr. Palmer,
Abstain.
No, you can't abstain,
yea or
unless you
nay?
have a financial,
Well, I guess I'd go along with it.
Paul, they're gonna get, I mean, when it changes hands, they're gonna get all that too. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Like I say, they're gonna get our minutes. They're gonna get this discussion. They're gonna know everything you said, they're gonna know everything Mr. Sloan said. They will be informed. And I understand your concern. It's an appropriate concern. It's just, but what we're doing today is just saying it's okay to combine
Yeah, and
properties.
I'm cool with that.
Okay, so you're an A.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Robichaud?
yes.
Mr. Riga?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, appreciate everybody's, and thank you, Terry. Terry, I know you've got some time constraints.
I do.
We still have a quorum, so,
Okay.
thank you, sir, appreciate you staying as long, and thank you, sir, appreciate it. Okay, that was item number 2. Okay,
You will be on the council agenda then for November 15th.
November 15th,
Yes,
okay.
at 5:30, and I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Okay,
with all the
all right,
time.
perfect.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
okay,
Bye.
all right, and then the, item 3 is the Heritage Funeral Home. Did you say you're Justin?
No.
No, you're Chris?
I'm Representative Justin.
You're Chris Walker?
Yes.
Okay, Chris, if you come to the podium, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chris, my first thing that jumps out at me is, when you answered the variance application.
The questions wasn't very clear to me, sir.
Yeah, it's kind of a double negative thing.
Mhm.
So when it says the variance request is not based predominantly upon a desire to reduce, the answer is yes, it's not based. It's a double negative.
Yeah.
It's never been worded
Yeah,
properly.
yes.
It confused the crap out of all of us. And
Okay.
then the next one was, the proposed variance will not substantially increase. So you meant to say yes to those. is that
Well,
correct?
the variance we're asking for will not increase the property value. It will not do anything like that.
I just need to get through these first, and then we'll
Okay.
get into those other details, because, so the proposed variance will not substantially increase congestion of surrounding public, right? That had to be a
It will
yes.
not, so it's a yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, and then the proposed variance will not substantially diminish property values?
It will not, so yes.
So that's a yes.
Yes,
And then the first one and the last, okay.
Okay.
Now we can, because the way you answered it,
I'm sorry.
it would have been an immediate, we would have had to say no.
Okay,
So
I'm with
glad
you.
we got
I'm
that.
with you.
Okay.
Miss Melissa assisted me in it a little bit on,
Yeah, I
because
got
the
you.
questions
Okay.
like
All right,
walking
very
with one
good.
another.
So can you kind of take us through,
What
it
what
is
has
you're
happened
doing?
there? Justin purchased and we built the crematory 10 years ago.
Okay,
Okay, from there, we're trying to keep it low key what it is, because there's some people in the neighborhood that was questioning what goes on there.
it's a crematorium,
It's a crematorium.
necessity. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Then the gentleman that owned the building behind it, I cannot remember his name. He leased it to a mechanic shop. It was
Okay.
always an eyesore. Junk
Yeah.
cars was always in our driveway and all this. Well, we put the garage door in front of the place to bring the transportation vehicle in and out. And people in the neighborhood, it kind of, they wasn't comfortable with it because they knew what was going on. So as soon as the building behind came open, we jumped on it, we bought it. We are now moving the entrance of the transportation vehicle. I'm trying to sound very professional about this.
That's okay.
To the rear of the building.
I got you.
So we bought this to where the general public don't have to look at people being brought in and unloaded, if you will. So we bought this. This is what our intentions was. The building will never ever be a commercial, open to the public
So,
building, if you will.
Will you walk up to that thing and tell me where that carport's going, or
It's
that?
not a carport.
the-
It's just
the-
basically an overhang over the doors,
Okay.
over the front doors. It is right here.
Okay.
Okay.
And the concern, was that structure there before?
This structure was here before pre-storm. This structure was here pre-storm.
Okay.
Any of us that grew up on the east side of town remembers when there was gas pumps right here.
Head station.
There was, yes, it was a head station. There was a porch on the front of the head station that people would go in the afternoon. They would sit and they would drink coffee and they would talk about the day. That was a place of gathering in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay, as Business 98 got wider, it's wider, it's wider, it's wider. We are missing the setback by about 18 inches. Okay, whenever we had this engineered, we had it drawn, we submitted it to the EPCI, it was approved, it was inspected. And then it was brought to our attention, hey, we missed it by 18 inches. Well, with that, we applied for the variance because all of this was existing pre-storm. Justin bought this after the storm.
So what you're rebuilding was there before the
Yes, sir.
storm?
Not only was it there, but as you come out, there was a fuel island
Okay.
at one point out here.
So what you're doing is, this is a key question, you're not adding to the level of
We
nonconformity?
are not.
You're not, okay,
We're
so
putting
that,
back as existing.
can we get that
I
back?
was gonna pull the GIS to
Oh,
show you what
okay,
was
cool.
on
Oh,
it before
cool.
the storm, but I'll leave it.
Okay, very good.
The width of the awning,
Mhm.
the small dimension, how wide is it?
Are you
Wide
talking
enough
about our overhang?
Yeah, overhang,
We have an 8-foot overhang.
so
It's
just
very-
barely enough for a
it-
vehicle, yeah.
Well, no, this is basically, anybody that's driven by it,
Porch.
this is a porch. This is nothing more than a covered porch because we have 2 point of entrance in the building. We have here and here.
Mhm.
This side will never be used as a parking lot. After we complete this and get it CO'd, we're going to come back and try to combine both pieces of property is what we're going to do. We want one piece of property. What our intent here is, we're going to come in, the property line is actually here. We're coming in and keeping the funeral home business behind a privacy fence so the kids walking by don't go, hey mommy, what's going on here? You know, we've had very few issues over the last 10 years where people's gotten upset about this. All we are trying to do, when we took this building is nothing more than whenever we order in the cardboard boxes that the people go in, they have to be in a conditioned area. This is nothing more than a conditioned storage room. We store caskets, we store the cardboard boxes, and we store records. The entrance for employees, you come out the back, you come into this one. This is what we do. We just tried to give it a homey look. We call it Little Cracker Barrels, what we call it. We tried to give it a homey look because if you remember, before we did this was an unsightly building
Yeah,
that was block, and it was disgusting. We spent approximately $130,000 redoing this building, and we said, hey, we have something coming over here, we have a big thing going here, let's give it a homey look. So Justin and mine's joke is, we're gonna come out back, we're gonna build this overhang and put rocking chairs with a checkerboard, is what we're gonna do, just a relaxing thing to sit here when we retire and look at traffic go by. Because in all
Yeah.
fairness, we're gonna sit right here and look at the Baptist church that's probably never gonna open. We're gonna sit on this porch, I wired the church, I'm allowed to laugh at it. We're gonna sit here and look at the new building supply, or we're gonna hear the people slamming. This is basically us trying to beautify a section of nothing,
But,
is
but,
what we was trying to do.
and we appreciate that, and I've seen that building, it's a tasteful building, we appreciate you bringing up the neighborhood. The key thing for us is we're kind of the nuts and bolts guys.
Yes, sir.
So that structure, that carport, that overhang, that was there before the storm.
The day before the storm, I cannot say that. There
Okay.
was on this end of the building, there was an awning over the front door of the office, is what there was. Years ago when I was young, and he remembers it as a head station, not only was there an overhang, there was a fuel pump, and at our expense, on technically now, we spent pouring this concrete and tearing the fuel island out. We paid, I think, $42,000 to get the fuel island tore out. We also did the research to make sure there was no old fuel tanks or anything like that.
And
We
all
poured
of that,
concrete-
all of that stuff had been permitted and approved.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
and
porch was
that,
even permitted and approved, but we didn't realize because we fell back on the what was existing. Bo Krill himself come and walked the job with me
yeah,
and said, "This is what I'd like to see." We went above and beyond on several things he asked for, and Bo Krill himself has come and inspected the job, and then it was brought to our attention. We was even offered our posts that's holding the porch up. If we move them back 18 inches, we don't have to touch nothing else because the setback don't include overhang.
right,
If I'm
that,
so
you're
now
correct.
versus me tearing this porch off, re-engineering it, moving the spending $20,000, we're spending $150 and asking because the only thing I'm asking for, can my 4 posts
Stay there,
where they are?
yeah,
versus
rather than
them
moving back,
18
that
inches.
doesn't make sense.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, and
for.
you're right, the overhang doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when we're talking about setback or right of way.
Well, I'm not sure I would go that far. If you look at the definition of structure, it would be everything to do with a building. But for purposes of this discussion, I think that's probably not relevant to his real question. Can you leave your poles where they are?
Can I leave my
or-
poles where they are?
Yeah.
I mean, because
Regardless of whether it should be in the setback or not, it has been permitted, it has been allowed to be in this, if, assuming the overhang is a part of the structure.
and I'm not asking for 18 foot. I'm asking for that
Did-
much.
Did the engineer or architect who designed your, structure not look at the LDR?
Well, I obviously the answer is going to be no.
Okay.
Is what the answer is going to be. We had it engineered because our engineer and our architect that drew it, we said, here it is, here's what was here, is basically what we did. Because once again, as I pointed out, there was a fuel island, there was a fuel island years ago. You pulled up out here, and I guess the state has gotten more and more of the road is what they've
But-
done.
Mr. Sloan, the reason I'm asking about this is, even though he's saying this is this is like an accessory structure that's attached to the building, right?
It's
So
we can call it
he
anything you
he
want.
meets-
It's a covered porch.
A covered porch, but at the end of the day, if it's an accessory structure, the distances shrink in terms of what is needed. So you don't have to have, no, that, which is in your favor.
And
It's in your
yes.
favor,
Okay.
okay? And in fact, the city allows for a carport to be in the front of a building as long as one whole side of it is attached to the building, which I'm looking at here.
It's attached.
Yeah.
But that's not the front of his building, that's the back of his building.
Oh, well, he's changing it to the front
it
though, right?
depends on, well,
Yeah.
actually, I am,
Not that building, your main building.
okay,
The
my
front of
main
that
building faces this way,
Yeah, yeah.
okay?
But I think Mr. Sloan was going down a whole nother direction. He said it's already been permitted, right? So were you,
That's correct. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a.
so we may
done
not have to
issue.
go through any of this. It's a non-issue,
Whether it
right?
should have been or not, it has been permitted,
Yeah.
and so, at this point,
So now there was a stop work order, and I
The-
understood the stop work order is because there was not a permit pulled, is that
That is
right?
false. There was a stop work order because we didn't meet setback. There was a
Okay.
permit pulled.
There was a permit.
There was a permit pulled to
Excellent.
stop at work order, and I can promise you this: the day Melissa come with it, Miss
Yeah.
Melissa and code enforcement, I guess. Yeah, whenever she came with it,
Vanessa probably.
whenever she come with it, we stopped immediately. You
Okay.
can see that it still has the plywood on the side. And even in the building code, you are allowed to protect your investment after a stop work order.
Yep.
I didn't even Tyvek it. I said, okay, let's stop, because Justin's doing everything he can to improve the area, because we all remember when that was a junior store and a karate place, and we all remember when Justin bought the building, yes, the roof had fallen in and all that. And I think he is a good Southern term, for lack of better terms, he has turned chicken
Okay. Well,
into chicken salad.
so,
So,
so when it says property was issued a stop work order due to working without a permit, that is false, right?
That's what Melissa told me.
okay, if
Okay.
it was permitted, what had happened was there was an issue. I did not have the permit posted, because whenever I was with the permit not being posted, we was in the process of changing out the windows. The permit was posted. The windows got changed out. The permit wasn't posted. It was brought to our attention, but I can assure you the entire project was permitted. Not only was it permitted, but every inch of the project was walked with the building official. What can we do to make sure we have no problems with this existing block building?
Is that what
Well,
you're asking?
Yeah. So it looks like, in a nutshell, it looks like it was permitted. It looks like it was approved. Even if there is an if the mistake was made in the city, how do we deal with something like that?
Well, the overhang perhaps was a mistake. His point now is he's got posts, and can he leave them where they are? And, you know, again, he's gonna have to prove that to the council. There are 7 criteria, which we already
Right.
talked about. And, but with respect to the overhang, I think that issue has been, the water's under left the dam on that one.
All right.
The bigger question that I would have is simply, the council's taken a position, if you're simply replacing something that was there before the hurricane, that's a different animal than seeking a variance. But I think what you've just told this council is that maybe a part of it was actually there before
Yeah,
the hurricane.
there was a part
but
of
not
it.
the entire part was there.
Well, the part over the office was, we just extended, because if you'll remember what had happened, even something to look at that we spent a large amount of money on, there was a hole here that belonged to someone, whoever owns. Where's it
Does it look like
go?
it's
Hey, there we go.
That's 2015.
Okay. Well, there's a big hole here that all this water runs into. So we fixed all that to where this wouldn't flood what was happening, and you can see the existing concrete where at one time there was more there, but you can, and also you see what I'm talking about, what we was dealing with their traffic rolling over, and we was just being good neighbors, didn't want no problems. But what happened was the water would run down, because when you go in these 2 shop doors right here, there was 2 big garage doors on front, the water would just run in the shop, there was no step up. So we come in and we took this section of the building and we poured the concrete up to match to where it wouldn't flood no more. And where you can see there was something here before where the front porch, if you will, that come into the building, we said, heck, let's extend it down the building, because we have doors coming in, and the last thing you want is a door that opens into the rain. Same reason you put a porch on your house. And that's what we were shooting for, kind of an old country look with that.
That's 2019.
Yes, sir, that's right after the storm.
Okay. And point to me where that porch is now.
Here.
That porch is, oh, okay. And what am I looking, am I looking at blacktop there, or am I looking at structure there?
You're right here, you're looking at, there's blacktop and there's blacktop, there's concrete here. We tore out some concrete, we tore out blacktop, we tore out where they just patched and fixed and patched and fixed. We cut all the way to the building, and like I said, right here, I don't know who dug this hole, but there was just a big hole there that had a fence around it to where a kid wouldn't fall in it. So we actually done it, and we put a pump in, and we have it going where it needs to go. And all we was trying to do is give the front of our building a respectable look.
And, okay, so.
And as far as future parking, the parking lot for
But-
this building
Yeah.
is up here.
But Jim, just
This is no
once
more.
again, this was already permitted,
Yes.
the ECPI.
EPCI.
EPCI. I can never get that right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, why don't I, guys, why don't I call for a vote? I mean,
We gotta have a
this,
motion first.
Yeah.
What do we motion? There's no problem.
motioning that we send it over to the council members. And this is a tasteful building. They're doing, it's nice. They have made some big improvement. By the way, the garage that was there, the guy who in that garage or rented it, he built the Batmobile in there.
I remember that.
That's actually over at the,
Yeah.
over at the Historic Museum now in Tallahassee.
I'd like to place a motion on the floor that the overhang as requested be forwarded to the city council with recommendations for approval.
Thank you,
I
Jim.
second.
Excellent. Can we take a vote, please?
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Robichaud?
Yes.
Mr. Riga?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Jim. I
Please
appreciate
don't
it.
call it a crack. Don't put no Cracker Barrel sound in it.
Oh no, we're not doing. We just, hey, if you see me and Justin sitting out there in a rocking chair, that's what we're shooting for.
Did you guys do the landscaping with palm trees as well?
His he has a company that did landscaping. You know, we've tried. We've tried.
I second what Chair Rodriguez says. I think the place is light years better than what.
And I'm going to tell you what we've done. You notice we've not painted. We have stopped because if we don't get our variance, we're going to redesign it. We're going to put something different. But we have stopped. Now, if this variance goes through, we're going to paint it. We're going to finish it. We're going to wrap the posts. We're going to put vinyl underneath, and we're going to do all that and finish it. And we're going to make it presentable.
And our recommendation is that it be.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, guys, the last time we were here, we got through on the, we're gonna go through the,
Mr. Walker, you,
Just painted the block and stopped.
I'll yell to him. Hey, Chris?
you will be November 15th in front of council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Okay, so the last time we were here, we got through item 8 in the comp plan. And let's see, Mr. Sloan had asked for us to do one thing, and then he was going to do one thing. What it was he was going to update the item 4 on page 9-2 to the 100-year 24-hour storm event so that it matched the LDRs. He asked me to go and check to see if the state agreed to the 108 gallons per day of the potable water and 100 gallons per day of the sewage. Let's see, potable water, the city, yeah. So, and indeed, there are 2 different Florida groups that use those exact numbers. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the Florida Department of Health both use those numbers as standards for what it is that municipalities should provide. And that's exactly what's in our comprehensive
So they haven't
plan.
changed.
They have not changed.
Okay.
So, he asked me to check it because we just updated the LDR
Right.
and we wanted to make sure that there was not any conflicts here.
I will tell you that I found in the LDR that there is another section that is dealing with the plating, I believe, and that is, hang on, let me find it here.
Okay.
Under general conditions of the plat.
Is that, which section, Mr. Sloan? That's section 5 or 6?
Yeah, hang on, let me get there. It's 5-10
Thank you.
dot 13.
All right, I'm there.
And in there, it says in 10-13 of the LDR, not the comp plan, LDR.
LDR,
It says, curves of volume 2 drainage manual, Florida Department of Transportation shall be used in determining the amount of runoff water in order to set widths of the drainage easements and right-of-way. And then it goes on to say, a 25-year, 24-hour storm event shall be used for the design purposes.
where were you again? Section, what was?
5-10.13,
5-10.
page 543. 5-43.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted you to be aware that the lot development standards and the standards
Oh,
for,
yeah, we missed that.
well, but that may be accurate for what's in volume 2 of the drainage manual of FDOT.
Okay.
But
Let
I
me,
just wanted to point out that that's a different standard
Yeah.
and, the lot development. So, while the lot development in 9-2 of the comp plan, is gonna be your 100-hour storm,
Yeah,
I mean, 100-year, 24-hour storm, your easement, we need to look at that and see if the volume 2 of the FDOT manual is still at 25-year, 24-hour, or 100-year.
okay.
Okay.
So that's for the LDR,
Yes.
not the one we just checked, right? Not the one that you were looking at,
That's correct. You
Which-
were looking at.
which was in
the-
section 8.
Let me get there.
I'm sorry, it was in section 9, it was item 4. It would have been 9.1.5, item 4.
9.1.
Drainage systems or facilities.
Nine dot one dot.
Yeah, I got 9.1.5, item 4. So it's page 9, on the comp plan, it's 9-2, item 4.
So I've got 9.2.4. Is that what you're looking at?
9 point, no, it's 9, well, section 9.1.5, and then under item 9.1.5, we've got item 1 through 6, and I'm on item 4.
Correct. Okay, I'm with you there.
Okay,
But I wanted to point out the distinction
okay,
that we may want to look at if that volume 2 of the FDOT manual changed that,
okay.
then we need to consider,
I'm gonna write myself a note, I'll look into that, did the,
policy 9.1.5.
yeah, very good. And then specifically related to 5-10.14,
Roadway
yeah.
easements,
Yeah, I'm sorry, 5-10.13, yes.
Correct.
5-10.13, very good, okay, very good. Okay, let's continue on the comprehensive plan, cause, let's see. So those were the two things that we ended up checking on. One thing that was kind of a surprise to me, I'm on page 9-3. If we take a look at, let's see, 9-3, item 1 on that page, it would be under policy 9.3.1. It talks about developers shall be required to provide adequate water, sewer, drainage, roadways, la 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 la. But this is the part that was surprising to me. Estimates for sidewalk construction will be made by the city, and reimbursed for preparation of estimates will be the responsibility of the developer. Upon approval of the city council, developers may provide funds in lieu of construction. In other words, what they're saying is that the developers must pay the city for their estimates that they put together in order to construct the sidewalks. Now, the LDR specifically identify how those sidewalks should be built, and the width and the fact that they would be there, but there's nothing in the LDR about the city providing estimates, and then the developers must reimburse the city for those estimates. So is that something that needs to be called out or not?
I think the purpose of that is so that you have a uniform sidewalk, both in construction and width.
Okay.
And so, again, the word will could be, could be interpreted to be may, and we can shift that burden to the developer, or we can do it and they can reimburse the city.
The other thing too is we were very specific. I think Mr. Palmer was kind of the author of this, when we went through what the developers would be doing, we specifically said provide adequate water, sewer, drainage, roadways, sidewalks, and parking for all residential, commercial, institutional, or other developments. The one thing that's left out is bicycle paths. We got that because other municipalities were doing that. So that's not in the comp plan. Now, we specifically wrote in the LDRs that if there was some kind of a safety concern, that bicycle paths and or sidewalks could be eliminated because of certain, eventualities. But does it have to be here in the comp plan?
I don't
called out?
believe it would
Okay.
have to be, because we've got some other, nebulous, policy standards to promote, walking and stuff like
Yeah,
that, so.
we do. Okay, and then the only other thing that's on that same page, 9-3, developers in residential subdivisions consisting of over 10 residential lots shall provide land area to be dedicated for public or private recreation use. Now, we identify that for every 8,000 people, or what's the standard for parks here? Isn't it like 800 people for every?
Well, we require it in any mobile home lot.
Right, we require in the mobile home lot and in the RV lot a green area, but in the comp plan, we didn't, it's nowhere do we identify that if a new development is being built, that ultimately, there also has to be a green area consisting of at least one, residential lot in terms of size.
Correct. This has only been triggered, I believe, one time in the last few years, because most of the subdivisions have been smaller.
I got you.
There's one coming through now that's smaller than 10 lots.
Okay, very good.
But it's important to know that it's in there, and if we get an application for more than 10 lots, that they have to dedicate an area equal to a lot size for
Yeah.
recreational use.
I don't know
Okay.
if we would have land for that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We did years ago on the one, and I'm trying to think of it, it's the one we had the trouble with the drainage in the back area.
Phillips Court or one of those.
Not Phillips, I don't think. It was the one, the developer was from down south. I can't remember the guy's name. It was not Smith or Jones.
Okay, so ultimately, the next two or three pages, I found no inconsistencies, and I found no conflicts to the LDR.
On page 9-4, is there a reason for that table? It's blank.
9-4, let's take a look.
Page 9-4, section 947.
Well, it's blank because up to that point in time, we really had no capital improvement schedule to put in there, but.
Well, I guess my real question is this the type of non-perishable information that goes into a plan that's only revised every 10 years?
Well, that's a good point. Maybe leave out the table and just have the policy.
That makes sense, because right now, there's outdated stuff in there, 2018, 2019.
Right.
Through 2021.
So just put a period after the word capital improvements
Yeah,
and delete the table and delete the rest of that
I would.
verbiage.
yeah.
I think when we got to that section, all of our brains were dead and we just weren't thinking anymore.
I wonder
Well,
where you
we
got capital
weren't even there yet.
Yeah.
No, I see it, but I just don't know where it came from.
No,
Now, you're keeping track of all this, right, Mr. Reagan?
I am.
Because I didn't bring an editable copy.
That's fine.
We're not eating anything here.
I'm sorry.
Oh, editable. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not,
I'm making
Yeah.
a joke.
Actually, I think Jamie's writing this stuff down
and then,
too.
and then when you made the joke, I couldn't
Remove.
think about it there.
See, your brain is dead too.
Yeah,
I'm
so
getting tired.
remove
I'm
on the
getting
remove
hungry.
chart. So we're just removing, and Jamie wants to just capture this in her notes too. We're removing that chart where it says City of Parker
Right.
Capital Improvement Schedule for the years 2018 through 2023, and we're just ending that sentence for the purpose of funded needed capital improvements as specified in the in this element.
No,
Actually, we
no.
can just
You-
we can
you just
eliminate that
Put
piece.
a period after the word improvements.
Improvements, okay, so the city will establish a dedicated capital improvement
for funding needed capital improvements.
capital improvements, and then eliminate as specified in this element. Okay, very good. Nate, okay, very good. Okay, and then, you know, those levels of service for the school, elementary, middle, and high school, nothing would change there. Pretty consistent with what the concurrency rules are within the LDRs. Quite frankly, I didn't take a lot of time to understand that student generation rate per unit multiplier. Yeah,
That has to do with the size of the school that they're building.
so that's how they determine how big the schools are gonna be. Okay, very good. And then quite frankly, because all of our brains are dead and it's 6:20 to 7, and we've got a few other things we gotta cover. So let me just ask that you get through the final section, which is 10, before we meet in December. Just
Okay.
review it for conflicts, anything you see to change, that would be great. And, all right,
Nice
very
meeting,
good.
nice meeting.
Okay, now, everybody, I took that ethics class thing, you know, online, and listened to it for approximately 4.5 hours, but nowhere along the line did I see where it said, okay, I'm gonna send you an email, or I'm gonna send you a complete. So apparently, I need to go through it again, in order to get a certificate for Jamie to have on her file. So if that applied to anybody else here. Okay, cool, okay.
We all
it's just
did it,
me.
we all did it
That's-
together.
Hey,
We
that's
had
fine.
donuts and
Very good.
It's not here, it applied to her as well.
Oh, hey, thanks. Like I say, I've actually got notes and everything else. Okay, okay, and then just a quick question for you. So how much time is needed? Do you want to see the information before we have these meetings so everybody can feel like they've got enough time to review? Is it like a week? Is a week enough?
Week's plenty for me.
It's been adequate, I've never.
About a week? Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, the reason I'm asking the question, Paul, is because the last meeting we had, one got sprung on us like the day of, and it wasn't enough time to.
And I wasn't there at that meeting.
So I think what we ought to do is, when things like that get sprung on us, I think we ought to say, look, you gotta make the next meeting, it's not enough time to review. So, 1 week?
1 week.
1 week,
and-
okay.
And that should include any drawings that might, well, because it's
Right.
take longer to look through.
And Jim knows what I'm talking about, because we had a lot of data to go through, and we were trying to help them out, and it wasn't working for us, so we needed more time.
Putting
So
us in
1
line.
week,
Yeah.
so, if we get it like the prior Tuesday or Wednesday before the Tuesday, you're good with that?
Yeah, Jamie's doing a good job of getting the stuff to us in time, at least.
No doubt.
If you guys are having a
Yeah.
hard time, now.
She was gone, for the, well, it wasn't you, this had nothing,
I emailed it to you, but is it okay to email it, or would you rather have it printed out, especially the maps and things?
I'd rather email it so I can be in my
And
office.
you all do know you do have mailboxes here as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've never
really?
seen anything in mine. Am I missing
Your
something?
Christmas cards are still in there.
From last year?
From the way.
From last year?
I finally tossed
You
them.
have
Were they from last year? Really?
Yes.
I got Christmas cards from
The city
somebody?
Parker gave it
Not
to
unless
us.
they've added it.
So the only thing I would suggest on that, if I may,
That was
is that
deleted
when there
about
are
4 or
maps,
5 years ago.
put a note that the maps
might be
are
good.
available, or we can come here and
If
look
you-
at the big
but
less
always,
inbox.
if you want something printed, just let me know and I can print it.
Well, but I'm talking about when they're bigger maps.
Yeah.
Don't,
All right.
But just request it and I will print it.
Paul, not putting you on the spot, but any news on our FSU floodwater
okay,
expert?
so I went up there and spent 4 hours with her.
Okay,
She has a new baby.
okay,
She can't make a evening appointment.
okay.
But I also, here is my concern. I went up there with 3 topics that were specific of our interest. One was, how do we compute the problem when you have multiple ponds? Now, I have satisfied myself basically that when a wet pond is, and the water table is only 3 or 4 foot below, then we don't really get the mounding problem that I was dealing with. And no part of Parker probably is going to be experiencing that. But there still is, when you put 2 ponds next to each other, okay, there can still be a sideways motion, and sometimes the movement of water sideways, which is less deep, can erode under a road, can cause a break in a road more easily. But she wasn't able to address that. She didn't have a model for that. So that was item number one. Item number two was predictive models that could be used for the, so we understood what could be predicted when we have big development coming in, etc. And it was less well defined than what I was hoping for. I mean, I spent a lot of time with her.
Yeah.
And I'm not detracting from her knowledge, but specifically what I was looking for was how do we calculate the impact of close ponds together? There obviously it's different than just one pond. And then the second one was what models are used for predictive. And that I just wasn't that satisfied that the answers would be useful.
Do we need a different expert essentially?
Yeah, and
Somebody
I asked her
different?
who else
Okay.
would, who else, because these are the specific things that we have an interest in. She said she'd get back to me, but she hasn't come back to me yet.
Okay.
But I did have, I mean, she's incredibly intelligent and she's
Yeah.
just really a wonderful person.
You want to keep working on that,
Yeah, because
or not necessarily her, but a replacement
Yeah.
for her? Because I
Yeah.
honestly think with our city, our flooding issues, our
Absolutely.
retention pond, I think
Yeah.
if we get somebody who could speak to us at that level, I think we can ultimately make better decisions
Particularly
about.
when we look at, so we've got that development with the storage units, we've got the Fulcrum Pond, and we're talking about putting that huge pond by Cherry Street. So there's some urgency in getting some answers to that.
Yeah,
But-
good deal. Last thing on my, and thank you, so you'll keep working on it, maybe get us a
Absolutely,
different, think
and-
about a
yeah.
different expert, okay. Last thing on my agenda is this, so I've been your chairman for a year. Annually, you guys have to vote a different chairman in. So, we're gonna do that next
Okay.
month, okay? So think about, whether or not you want me to keep that role, or if you'd like somebody else to play it. I'm happy to, entertain anything.
If you don't get this role, we're all gonna disband.
Well.
No one else wants to sit and go.
Well,
I like solving
appreciate-
problems, but I don't like.
Somebody's gotta nominate me, and
Yeah.
somebody's gotta second it for it to be official, so we'll do that, that's gonna be the next meeting, okay?
Yard signs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, appreciate the
Terry's
time.
not here. We ought to.
Well, last thing on my menu, Mr. Sloan and the rest of the council members just ratified the LDRs, their last Tuesday meeting, so,
I
so
didn't
the,
ratify
Yeah.
anything.
yes, you did, you ratified the LDRs, the new LDRs.
I have no vote.
Well, you did the reading. Mr. Sloan did the reading, and the council members approved it. So, once again, congratulations, a lot of
That was
hard
a
work
big deal.
by everybody, so congratulations for getting it through.
Mr.
And,
Robichaud, it was November 1st.
Okay, so
It was-
effective November 1.
It was the last
We're under the
Tuesday
new
official big meeting that they had, so congratulations to everybody for all the hard work. I'm calling this meeting, we're adjourning. Yeah, Paul?
One
Yes?
other real quick thing. So I was working on several different projects for the city.
Yes.
So I quit working on the procedures manual because what I wanted to do for the city was not what they wanted.
Okay,
I mean, I didn't want to just replicate what they were doing. I wanted to look to how to improve them, and I needed to get access to the accounting system, and I was denied that access.
Okay.
So I sort of, okay, I can't really do what I wanted to do. So now the next project that I'm working on is the dynamic LDR, so that we can simplify, so that once we start passing these, what do we call them? Not resolutions.
use changes?
Well, but no, there's a
Small scale plan amendments,
no, whatever. There's another name for it.
comprehensive plan amendment.
You have a whole bunch of things in the book that you had to always collate back again.
Oh, now that we
Codification.
codified.
Yeah, so I'm going to now work on that project. I sent him something to look at to show him how I'm going to do
Is
this.
this what I'm supposed to search for, or is this a website, or what is
But
this?
no, just search on that because the website didn't make sense to me. I looked at the website.
So search for introduction dash get,
Yeah, under YouTube, and then you will see.
Git and GitHub for
Yeah.
poets.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to codify our?
I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Yes, ma'am.
Question.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry, I
You
thought you were
brought
leaving.
something up that, cause you make these LDRs and I got a code violation. Okay.
Oh, we can't talk to you then. We don't have illegal. Oh no.
He's just teasing.
But in general, it was, let's say, overgrown grass on a commercial
I
property.
have to talk to him, so.
Okay, but
Hey, Joe.
I was trying to look through the Muni code or whatever, cause I looked for City of Parker. What makes an overgrown lot? And I could not find it. They gave me a link to something, to the Florida League of Cities, a Muni code for Parker. And I was trying, and it's like, it's a lot of legal ease. But it's like, okay,
in
so
the
what,
nuisance section of the code, there is a definition of weeds in,
Of-
I think, in excess of 12 inches.
12 inches.
And
Okay, but kind of like, I think that's what Mr. Palmer's trying to do is there any way to take some of these violations and make it like easy, like user-friendly, or for regular people to understand?
Well, our Bibles here are really the comprehensive plan and the land development rules, not the code
they're
of
not
ordinances.
just as that.
So
Yeah.
you guys, it doesn't trickle down, like,
Well,
again?
we don't,
Okay, so
ordinances are,
it's different, okay.
yeah.
All right, well then
You
again,
lost your quorum, Mr. Chair, you need to adjourn.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, we do have
sorry.
to adjourn, sorry.
okay, so
Thank you.
my issue goes, is taken up
It's
with
not us
Mr.
anyway,
Tully.
but we are adjourning.
Sorry,
Thank you,
fine,
Cynthia.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving.
Miss Rosso, it's the council. Council.
So just ask
With the
council?
city council.
Because I,
Council is who you need to talk to.
what, if I was to, although other vacant properties had
Something drop
overgrown
over there?
lots too.
Oh.
I knocked it
They
off.
got
when
coded
I
too,
said
I'm
that.
pretty sure.
Huh?
I think
That's
they were
actually my
coded as
binder,
well.
but you can have it if you'd like it. Well, have it, go ahead, take it. I
It's
put a bunch of them
determined
in my
already
drawer
in
in
that
here,
charter.
along with pens. You can take it, go ahead.
It makes sense that if I'm getting a code
the nuisance
violation,
section
they
is in
say
the other-
reference chapter 9.
It's in the code.
It didn't
Thanks
say
for
that on
always
the
coming.
violation.
You,
Chapter-